Hey everyone, it's a bit of a drizzly but beautiful day in our valley today. Today is the day of the week that the home educators around our community come over and we just kind of play and learn together all day. So at the moment, they're all up in a big yurt, playing Lego, carving gourds, stuff like that. I'm no expert in child education or learning. I'm absolutely no guru at all, but I reckon I've got one thing to offer people who are living life without school. And that is that I am 100% confident in what we are doing here. I believe that living life without school, without curriculum, without teachers is an incredibly awesome gift we are giving our kids. And I don't doubt if they're going to learn to read, or if they're going to learn to do maths, or if they're going to be successful, or if they're going to get to go to uni. I've got seriously no doubts and no qualms about any of that stuff. So if you ever need a boost of confidence in what you're doing, living life without school, come over here and get a little bit of love from me, because I am into it. I have one category of doubt, and it's not so much about how we're raising our kids. It's a little bit wider, okay? It's a bit more, it's a tricky area for me, and I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. In the meantime, I wanna talk about how we describe what it is we're doing. You might remember last year I decided I was no longer gonna use the term unschooling, and I tried really hard for ages and ages, but it is mega difficult to not use the word unschooling because people just don't know what you're talking about. If you try life learning, you know, people are like, well, I learn my whole life too, you know. I found that people couldn't find my videos, they wanted more of a description, blah blah blah. So I slowly slipped into like using unschooling again, because it's a signifier about what it is we're doing and the life we're trying to lead. But increasingly I've begun to feel that radical people or progressives are failing to describe what it is we hope for or what we're living for. Too often I think we can be like, oh, we don't do that, and no to that, and anti this and that. And I really want to be somebody that reimagines the story and reimagines what the future looks like, and is bold and brave enough to put words around what it is we're doing and what it is we're dreaming of, that isn't just an anti or a response to the status quo or the mainstream or what is happening. So I've tossed about curiosity-based learning, decolonized learning, trust that our kids are natural-born learners, the rather wordy. Well, it's an education system that sees that our children are not just economic units. They are walking, talking expressions of divinity. That kind of loses people though. And more I'm beginning to rely on this term, self-directed learning. And I feel like self-directed learning really does just sum up the kind of simple way that we go about our life. And that is just doing with our children what we've done from the moment they were born. I think that most adults can agree that you don't teach your kids how to walk and talk, how to be affectionate, how to communicate. They simply live and learn how to do those things. And then at an arbitrary age, at 5, we decide, okay, that's enough self-directed learning. I'm going to give you a teacher now to show you everything you really need to know. And basically what we do when we live without school is simply just carry on in that attitude of you are born learning, and you're going to continue to learn everything you need, everything that is important, on your self-motivation alone. So when you hear me talking about life without school, I hope that from now on you're going to hear me saying self-directed learning. And this kind of relates to my doubts. I'm going to bring this back up. In the meantime, I thought I'd share with you the 3 pillars that are kind of foundational to the way that we do self-directed learning in our family. So number 1, we continue to provide a supportive environment for our kids. So what it is they want to learn, we are up for it, what they want to talk about, we do it. But wider than our family life and our home environment, we try and provide a loving and supportive community. I do really feel like that is a gift that schools give children, is the opportunity to be part of like a wider network of families, and that is a really beautiful opportunity. And I think that there's a really great challenge for home educators to say, how can we give our children that really important sense of belonging to something wider than themselves or wider than their little family unit. So we do this day a week where we all come together and learn and grow together. There's a really ancient urge and yearning within us to belong to communities, and I feel like we can give that gift to our children by really persevering with building community that eat together, share together, that work through conflict together, that really just grow together. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is just play. So we basically give our kids as much opportunity to play and play and play as we can. And that's because when kids play, they are bringing to themselves so many important things that are going to serve them for the rest of their life. They're learning about negotiation and governance. They're getting an emotional literacy, and if the play is done outdoors, they're getting an eco-literacy, a love and respect for the earth beneath their feet. And I also do a lot of peer-to-peer learning around curriculum subjects as well, I find, which is kind of funny. So play is the second pillar of our self-directed learning environment. And thirdly is respect and dignity. I really feel like all people are born worthy of rights and dignity. So we try and represent that in our home education world or our parenting world by talking to our kids with respect, giving them heaps of autonomy, having family meetings where they can share their thoughts and feelings, where we can make decisions together as a family. And I feel like it's such a privilege to be able to home educate, because I can fully create that kind of world for my children where they understand what it is to fully experience their human rights. And now to move on to this area that I do find a little bit challenging, or that is a source of doubt for me, and that is where we kind of polarize school and life without school. And we're almost dualistic in that. Sometimes we can be, right? And I really want to apologize for where I've done that in the past, where I've said, oh, school is totally bad and life without school is totally awesome. I feel like we do a real disservice to our children when we're that polarized. And going forward, I really want to be somebody that says, how can we bring autonomy and trust and play and rights and dignity into the lives of all children, no matter whether they're at school or at home? This is a conversation that needs to happen for all children. And we've definitely considered being the family that attends our local primary school, simply so we can try and influence and bring some of these values into that school system. But I actually feel like my calling is nearly always to the edge of things, to be a kind of like a sharp point that is furthering the spectrum. But massive shout out and respect to all of the parents who are within the system trying to bring change through their own influence. That is so important. And a huge shout out to the teachers that I hear from often who are stuck within the system but trying to bring change. I hear from you that you are thwarted so often by the institutional nature of schools. And I really just want to extend solidarity to you and say you are an amazing change maker. Keep going. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about this dynamic. Where can we create a world where we're having this conversation about bringing more social justice to the lives of children, whether they are at school or at home? I think that term self-directed learning can really be useful for that as well, because it's not referencing school, and some schools are moving towards much more autonomy for their students, and some home educators also don't do self-directed learning. So it's kind of like this, it feels like it's a bit of an intersection where we can all go, let's stop trying to teach, and let's give our children the understanding that they are their very best teachers. So as ever, I'd love to hear from you about this, both about the terms and what we call what it is we're doing, and also that area of doubt about the polarization. Comments are still off, but you can connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, and also through Patreon, which is, I'm a lot more communicative with my patrons than I am anywhere else on social media. So if you want to know what I'm working on or what's going on in this little brain, you can hit the link below for that. Wherever you are in the world, much love to you, and stay radical.